So when we're looking at parameter changes, important thing you know, linear parent function is y equals x. That is the same thing as f of x equals x. So if I were to graph that, f of x equals x, enter, control T, it's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. So we are going to graph that. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Okay, this is my parent function. Now, if you want to stop and do that on all the graphs, because on all of these, we're going to start with the parent function. So I want you to go ahead and graph that, because I think that will save you some time. All of these are going to start with the parent function, and I wanted you to see how it changed. So we'll go ahead and graph those. Okay, my parent function is on all of those. Even on the back. So those, all those are your parent functions. And as you're graphing tomorrow, it will be helpful if you use two different colors, just like the two different colors on the screen. Okay? So my parent function is going to be blue. Now, when the y-intercept is shifted up or down, so see the y-intercept, if I go this way, then that's up. If I start up top and I go down, it's a shift down. So that's the shifting. I either go higher or lower, but the y-intercept is going to change. And to know if you're going to use the word shift, you're going to have parallel lines. Now, when I say parallel lines, that means the lines will not touch. Okay, just like this little diagram right here, the lines will not touch. They are parallel. Okay, so if you have parallel lines, you're going to use the word shift. That means that the y-intercept shifted. So what we're going to do is we're going to graph. So we have f of x equals x, which I already have on my equation. So I'm going to get rid of the table, and I'm going to go to tab. Now, tab is going to be a very helpful tool to you, and that's how you always go back to change an equation. The second equation I'm going to put in is g of x equals x plus 2. You just type in x plus 2. This g of x is the same thing as saying f of x. It just has another name, g. Okay? So I'm typing x plus 2. So right here by this, sorry, it got freaked out on me. So I'm going to say x, down arrow, there's your x plus 2. All right, here's my enter. Now I'm going to do menu 5-1. When you do that, there's my parent function, up arrow, it's at 0, 2. So that you know it starts at 0, 2. So I'm going to put that point down there. Now I need another point. So I'm just going to hit the number 1 since I already have menu 5-1. It's 1, 3. So 1, 3. So 1, 1, 2, 3. There's my line. Now, I started at my parent function. And which way did I move? I moved up. So that is shift up. Okay? I shifted up. On number 2, I started at the parent function, and then I graphed x minus 4. So what you can do is you can go to the tab button. Okay, so I'm going to hit tab. If you go up arrow, I no longer want x plus 2. I want x minus 4. So I'm going to put minus 4. Okay, now enter. I still have my parent function, and then I have x minus 4. So now do menu 5-1. And see, there's it on the blue, but I want on the red. Now notice if you go to the red, my y-intercept is 0, negative 4. Okay, so 0, negative 4. So it starts 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if I type in a 1, I get 1, negative 3. Okay, so 1, 1, 2, 3. There is my line. Now notice they are parallel, so that means I shifted. You start at the parent function, and I moved down. So this would be a shift down. I shifted down. Now steeper or less. Notice on this one it's different. They have the same y-intercept. So if you're going to use steeper or less steep, you do that when you have the same y-intercept. Now how you know if it's steeper or not? So there's two lines. Your original line will be the blue one. and then your new line will be the red one, okay? So this one is steeper. Think of it like at a Six Flags on the roller coaster, okay? You have something like the Titan that's very, very steep, so it has a higher angle. It's closer to being vertical. It's closer to being straight up and down. So the Titan is steeper than like the runaway mine train. This one is less steep. Okay, it's under. The less steep, if it's less steep, it's going to be under. The one that's less is under. So the question is, they want to know about the new equation, okay? So my original f of x equals x, my parent function, I have that. And now I want to graph 3x, so I'm going to put in 3x. So go to tab, okay? On tab, hit the up arrow button, delete x minus 4, and you're going to put 3x, and hit enter. Okay, so there it is at 0, 0. So they're both at 0, 0. Now I want to hit a number like 1 and hit enter. No, I need to minify 1. Okay, 1, 3. So 1, so I have 0, 0, and then I have 1, 3. So put 1, 3 on your paper. Oh, look, that point right there is above, okay? So if it's above the original, okay, if it's above it, then you're going to say steeper. Okay, it's steeper. Now we're going to graph the second one. I already have the parent function. Now I want to graph 1/3 x. Okay, so hit tab, up arrow. I'm going to delete this and put 1/3. And then enter. Okay, now you do minify 1. It starts at 0, so 0, 0. That is my original. Okay, and now like type in the number 1 and you get, okay, I don't want a decimal, so do 2. No, don't want a decimal. 3. Oh, 3, 1, so that works. So 3, 1. So graph 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, up 1. So it starts at 0, 0, 3, 1. Now look at that. It is under, okay? If it is under the original, then it's less steep. So if it's underneath it, it is less steep. Now we're going to look at the word reflected, okay? Reflected. Reflected is when it's flipped. So that means it's going to be in a totally different quadrant. So it's flipped over into a quadrant across, okay? So it's going to go completely over. So if it's increasing, it's going to become decreasing. If it's decreasing, it's going to become increasing. So it's going to be completely opposite, okay? So we got f of x equals x, and now we want to graph just negative x. That's it, negative x. So go to tab, up arrow, and I want to delete and put negative x in. Hit enter. Okay, so make sure you have minify 1 up, and I'm going to go to 0. Okay, so we start at 0, 0. Okay. Now I want to put in a number, so I will put in 1 and enter. 1, negative 1. Okay, so 1, negative 1. So 1, negative 1. There's your line. Okay, it is reflected. Now it's hard to tell. It's hard for a lot of students to tell if it's steeper or less steep. So what I tell them to do is I say remove the negative. Okay, so go back up to tab and up arrow, and I'm going to remove that negative and then hit enter. Oh, well look, minify 1. See, it's on the red line, now it's on the blue line. Now it's on the red line, now it's on the blue line. It's still the same thing. So there is no change, okay? So there's no change. It is not steeper or flatter, it's the same, okay? And how I did that is by removing the negative. We'll try another one. Here's your parent function, and then I want you to graph negative 2/5 x. Okay, so go to tab, up arrow. I'm going to put in, so we're going to keep f of x, and then this one is negative 2/5 x, and hit enter. All right, It's definitely reflected because it's in the opposite, it's totally across. So very first thing, it is reflected. Now, remember, we're gonna remove that negative. So remove the negative before you tell anything else. So go to tab, up arrow, and take that negative off, hit enter. Okay, look at where the red one is. The red is underneath. And if the red is underneath, so if it's under, I'm gonna say less steep. It's less steep. And if I were to plot that, I didn't plot it with the negative, so tab, I can do that. And then I'll just do it 1. So go down to the red one. It's don't want a decimal. Don't want that one. 3. Don't want a decimal. So you can just keep trying until 5, -2. That works. So 5, -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -2. There was my line. Okay. Now, when I removed it, I saw it was less steep, and it was over here, and it was underneath it. Okay. So make sure that you take out that negative to tell. All right, on 7 and 8, we're just going to graph them. So you got f of x equals x, and then g of x equals -4x. So let's see what happens there. So go up to tab, and I'm going to keep my x, I'm going to put -4x, hit enter. All right, it's definitely reflected. Now, I'm going to take off the negative, and I want to see how it looks after that. So take off your negative and enter. Okay, the red is above the blue one. So remember, if it's above it, then you're going to say the steeper. It is steeper. Okay, if it's above the blue line. And then the next one, f of x equals x, and then I have -3x. So these are going to kind of be a mix. Okay, they're not. So just go, if something happens, you tap the wrong thing, just go back, it's okay. So 4x, the next one that we have is -x plus 3. Okay, so it's definitely reflected, so you're going to say reflected first. And then you want to take off that negative, okay? So tab, up arrow, take off the negative, delete. Oh, look, they're parallel. So if they're parallel, I don't use steeper, I use shift. I went from blue to red, so I shifted up. I shifted up. Remember, when your lines are parallel, you're going to use the word shift. Okay? And I went from the blue to the red, so it's up. Now, on the last section, notice they have stars on them because you have to think about just a little bit more. It says f of x equals x. So where you see f of x, you're going to put x there. So x plus 10. That's what we're going to graph. Okay? So tab, up arrow, and instead of 3, I'm going to put 10. Enter. Oh, I went from the blue up to the red. And they are parallel. You can tell they're parallel. So that would be shift up. Now, f of x equals x. So where I see f of x, I'm going to put x and bring down your -4. So I'm going to graph x minus 4. So tab, up arrow, instead of plus 10, -4, hit enter. Oh, I went from the blue down to the red. So I shifted down. Remember, if they're parallel, I'm going to use the word shift. So it shifted down. Okay, the next one, you got f of x equals x, so I'm going to put that here. F of x becomes x, and I bring down the 4, so 4x. So tab, up, delete, put 4x, enter. Okay, it is steeper because it's above the blue line. It's steeper because it's above the blue line. Remember, if it's above, and they shared the same y-axis. And then the last one, go to tab, up arrow, I'm going to take off the 4x, just hit escape. And the last one is -1/2 x, and then hit enter. Okay, now this one's definitely reflected because it makes like an X. Anytime it makes a crisscross, then you are going to put reflected. And then I'm going to go take the negative off. So take off the negative. and then hit enter. And it's lower. So if it's lower, I'm gonna say less steep. And the reason it's less steep is because it's under the original. And that's graphing parameters.